Welcome everybody to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. I'm your host Tristan Harlan here with Cooper Melder. Cooper, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm here and I'm alive, and I'm extra thankful today that this studio's still standing, because about the time of 5 in the morning, I know me and you, we got a little wake-up call saying a tornado's heading our way, and then I checked the weather, and sure enough, we got ice tomorrow, so it's the beautiful Arkansas weather.
Yeah, ice can't stop us, neither can a tornado. We're here back on Red Wolf Roundtable. We had an exciting weekend, couple weeks of ASU men's basketball. Let's go ahead and dive right into it, Cooper. First game we played against some Texas State Bobcats. Ended up falling a little bit short to them Bobcats in Sun Belt Conference action. We lost to it by a score 84-67. You see the stats now. We almost kind of had neck and neck in the field goal percentage, but, just shy once again. The three-point was where we ended up dying by the three. You see Texas State had 42% from the three, and we had 36% from the three. And Cooper, like we've been preaching all season on this show, you got to hit your three-pointers. If you want to win in the Sun Belt, you got to hit your three-pointers, because the three-point shot is the most important shot in the game of basketball today.
Well, also another stat, Texas State, they went 29 for 31 from the free throw line. They only missed 2 free throws, so they capitalized almost every time they went to the line that game. And that's just 29 free points given up by the Arkansas State Red Wolves. And also the turnovers, they had 14, we had 21. And when things like that happen and you're playing on the road, you're not going to win many ball games.
Right. I mean, the normal guys did normal things. Norchad, he had another great game in that game against Texas State. But, that wasn't the only game that was, here this past weekend. We also played UT Arlington down there. And, Coach Berlato said it himself on Twitter that was a defensive matchup. If you love defense, as you see it now, we won by a score of 58-49. And, you see the field goal percentage. We both shot a bad 29% and 10% from three for the Red Wolves. Cooper, defense was prevalent in this game. You see the 11 turnovers for UT Arlington and 14 for us. But, Cooper, what's it going to take for, the 2 games that we got left this season for the men? What's it going to take to really kick it into high gear and come looking strong come Sun Belt Conference play?
Well, really, you can have bad games if your defense can step up, and that's what they did this game. Shots weren't falling. Obviously, the three-point shot wasn't falling. 10%, that's really, really low for this team who can, we've seen them shoot high 50% for three-point land. But, when it came down to it, free throws is the game among these past 2 games. They went 5 for 16. They missed 11 of their free throws, and we capitalized on ours. And in defensive battles, it's really, you got to get to the line. If shots aren't falling, you got to get to the line, because they're the free shots, the easy shots, and that's what they did. And what they say, defense wins championships.
Right. You say it yourself, defenses win championships, but you just got to look at it this way. Omer, he had 22 points against UT Arlington, and in the first half, it was really a lot of back and forth play. You see Norchad Omer, you see kind of his stats for on the season, his player of the year resume, he's 2nd in field goal percentage, he's 4th in rebounds, 5th in double doubles. He had 26 rebounds against ULM, which is a First National Bank Arena record, and 31 points at Troy. So Cooper, when does the question start coming into play that maybe Norchad Omer is the player of the year for the Sun Belt? Because, we saw he's rumored to win freshman of the year. He was freshman preseason, the pick preseason to win it all. So what does it come into the play? Because another interesting fact is that no Sun Belt Conference player has averaged 19 and 13 per game in a single season of conference play, and that's dating back to 1992, 1993. So, Cooper, the question remains, when does it hit to know that Norchad Omer may just well be the player of the year when it comes to Sun Belt Conference?
Well, if you haven't been watching A-State basketball, then you're kind of lost right now. But if you haven't, like we both have, I know you're working, I'm filming on the court, and Norchad Omer, he is the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year and the Freshman of the Year. There's no one better than him. 26 rebounds in a game, that's unheard of. You look at SEC schools, ACC schools, you rarely see a big man like that get 26 rebounds. Not to mention, he's not 7 foot, he's not 6'10", 6'11", he's about 6'8", 6'9". He's a smaller forward, smaller center, and he's doing that and beating your team every night. So if you're not already on the train, get on it, because Norchad Omer, he is the player of the year, and I'm going to stand by it, and y'all need to get on it too.
Yeah, Cooper, so like I said, we got 2 more games coming up. You got a game against Coastal Carolina coming up, and then we got another game against App State coming up. But I don't know about you, Cooper, but speaking of the Coastal Carolina game, it kind of makes me a little bit hungry. But, if you doesn't know, it's time to get your official Coastal Carolina fried chicken. And if you can't read it, it says a Cliff Ellis original recipe. So, Cooper, I don't know about you, but in the Sun Belt, we got Eagles, we got Bobcats, we got everything in between. But this right here, this is some home-cooked chicken, my friend. It's coming straight from Coastal Carolina. It's got the turquoise. It's got all the fixings you want. You get the mac and cheese. You get everything, Cooper. So I don't know about you, but speaking of fried chicken, kind of makes me a little bit hungry. So maybe this next game against Coastal Carolina, Norchett and them boys, they'll get hungry and they'll go eat, and they'll send the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers home sad. And then we got the App State game coming up, Cooper. That's kind of been the matchup that a lot of people have been talking about. Who wants it more? The Sun Belt Conference Tournament is coming up. So, Cooper, just give your thoughts real quick on that before we talk about the tournament itself. But, what do you expect from these last two games?
Well, I expect them to go out on a 2-game win streak. You've got your final 2 home games of the year, and then you go to conference play. So if you can win these 2 at home, get some momentum going into the conference tournament, then there's no telling what they could do. And also, 2-game win streak right now could boost us from the 6th seed to up to the top 4 where we get that bye. If we can just win these last 2, have a couple teams lose, then we could be chilling in that 4th spot. And so now we're going to take a look at the men's bracket here. And as you can see, if it ended today, we're playing Georgia Southern.
Yeah, Cooper. So, you talk about that bye, and I actually got a couple notes here for that scenario. We need USA, Southern Alabama. We need them to lose one of their last 2 games, which they're playing Texas State and UTA. Then also we need Georgia State to lose one of their last 2 versus ULM and versus La La. And then, also a potential 3rd seed for the Red Bulls. Troy drops both of their last 2 against UTA and Texas State, and South Alabama has to drop to Georgia State or another one of their last games. But, it just kind of shows that you've seen it on your screen what the potential matchup is. If the bracket started today, we'd be playing Georgia Southern, then we'd go to play Troy. And then, that's kind of the game that we talked about before the show. What teams will we like to play first? What side of the bracket do you want to be on? Do you want the first round bye? But, Cooper, that's the beauty of the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. These teams know to get to the big dance, they got to win their conference. So it doesn't matter if you lost all your conference games in the regular season or if you got blown out by a team. If you're playing them in the conference, you have another chance to really come back and maybe even win it all. So, Cooper, the Sun Belt Conference Tournament is up for grabs, and it's anybody's ballgame.
It's going to be exciting for sure.
Yeah, Cooper, but, real quick before we get too carried away, we're going to go ahead and switch it to women's basketball now. The Red Wolves, they had a lot of good games here, and, last game they were here at home playing the Little Rock Trojans, and, that game was really one of those games that was just an all-out who wants it more, them or us, and, it's sad to say, but they ended up wanting more, isn't it?
Well, the only positive that I could really find is we got Jade Upshaw back. She was really the spark off the bench this year, early in the season, if you can remember, and just a player that can knock down the 3 ball. She's the life and blood from the 3 and can hit a 3 when you need it. And it's good to finally get her back off of her injury into conference play. Maybe she can provide a little bit of momentum coming off the bench with our team. We don't really have that much bench depth right now.
Right. You said it yourself, Jade Upshaw, last game against, University of Little Rock. She was kind of the sole survivor, so to speak. You've seen it now. She had 12 points. She shot 4 for 6 from 3, and she had 67% total for her threes. When I tell you, when she got that ball behind the arc, she was draining it. She would take it. She would take maybe one dribble, throw it up, make it. She would take another, throw it up, make it. She kind of had that Klay Thompson-esque in her, catching and shooting. But, that was a big story of the game. But a bigger story of the game was that Little Rock was actually able to pull it out. They won by a score of 73-69. They shot better field goal shots than we did. But, finally, an A-State team was able to hit majority of their threes. They kind of tied in the field goal percentage and their three-point percentages. but it's just a matter of time because you see it. They had more assists and we had more turnovers. But another big key of the game was the points off turnovers. They had 3 times the points of off turnovers that we didn't. We had 7 and they had 21. Cooper, that's something you got to limit playing a rival like Little Rock.
Well, the fact that we forced them to 14 turnovers and only could get 7 points off of that is you're not going to win many games. I mean, if you look at the stat sheet, it was pretty even. I mean, no one really had an advantage, but when you go to points off a turnover, when you force a turnover, you got to make your shots. You got to run the fast break. You got to hit your guards, pass it down low, have them collapse, get it to Jade Upshaw, get it to one of your star players out behind the arc and have them drain a 3. But it's just one of those games. They couldn't do it off the turnovers, which came back and bit them in the butt.
Right, Cooper. So, I mean, you said it yourself. We're kind of limited with the amount of players we have on the team due to injury and some even entered the transfer portal. But you know what? It doesn't matter because, like I said with the men, the Sun Belt Conference tournament for the women, it's the same deal. It's anybody's ball game. In the tournament, it's coming up fast as you see it on your screen now. And actually, we're sitting at the 8th spot playing against, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, the fried chicken right here in the first game. And we'd be going against play Troy. So the question remains just like the men's bracket. Which side of the bracket do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the lower half or do you want to be at the top? And another question is, if you go to the bottom, what do you think happens to the number 1 seed Troy? Because, I mean, still it's up for grabs, especially with the men, but looking at the women too, what side of the bracket would you rather be on? Would you rather be on the top side of the bracket where you end up having to play number 1, or would you rather be on the bottom side, ended up facing number 2, or would you like to see maybe be the dark horse like maybe we are right now to beat the number 1 seed and go out and play one of our rivals like Little Rock, like like ULM? So, Cooper, what would you, in this position, if you were a player or Coach Rogers, what would you rather do on this women's basketball team?
Well, obviously, I want to get away from the number 1 seed. So the best seed I could see right now is if we can somehow sneak into the 7 or 6 seed right there, play Appalachian State. UT Arlington lost a close one to them at home. We dropped that game. I know they want a rematch against them because we played them already. We were hitting shots, so were they. But if I'm coach, I want to get either the 7 or 6 seed because you don't want to win game 1 and then have to turn around and play the best team in your conference. That's just, you really don't want to have to come over that hump. You want to get further away from them and hopefully someone else can knock them off. But if we do have to play Troy, I know they can beat them. But that's all we got for basketball right now. Stick around. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable, ladies and gentlemen. And the MLB, the Major League Baseball, hasn't really started their season out due to a lockout between them and the CBA, but have no fear. The A-State baseball team has begun their season, and before we get a chance to really talk about the season and how it started out, let's hear Coach Raffo talk about his expectations and how he thinks the season's going to play out.
As far as what we have coming back and guys that were in the lineup last year, you look at like a Jalen DeShazier, Ben Klutz, a Jared Toller, a Garrett Olson, a Blake McCutcheon, some of those guys that were in the lineup on an everyday basis. It adds some stability and experience playing at the Division I level. And you see a learning curve with a lot of these young players or first timers that are coming in. That have to kind of go through some ups and downs, possibly, especially with this good Division I pitching that we see now. Last year we were a little hamstrung, and I know we had some conversations about this too. And I think the thing that sticks out is you always want to create balance on your team, and what I mean by that is, left-hand hitters and right-hand hitters, and then you want right-hand pitchers and left-hand pitchers. We're extremely right-hand pitching last year, and so. When we faced a left-hand hitting team, obviously you have to have some weapons on the mound right-handed to be able to get through lineups third, fourth, fifth time. And at the same time, if you don't have a left-hander, sometimes those left-hand hitters that you face that are high-end type guys, they're able to have some success against you. So we made it a point this year to make sure that we had left-hand pitching. Obviously, we talked about the rotation, Karadask earlier, and Justin Medlin's a left-hand pitcher that will get the ball on Saturday. And that's kind of refreshing. We haven't had one in a long time in our rotation. Mickey Coyne's a left-hand pitcher for us. Jacob Frederick, Austin Brock, and then Walker Williams, who pitched a little bit last year, had some success at Oklahoma. Had a little bit of a nerve issue that was kind of fixed for him, and ended up getting a redshirt year, but he's fully healthy now. So that's 5 left-hand pitchers. We have not had 5 left-hand pitchers since I've been here on the pitching staff. So obviously they can do different things, and we're excited about what they can bring to the table for us and give us opportunities for different looks on the mound. I think obviously you look at your veteran guys and where are they going? Are they staying the same or are they getting better? I was very pleased with Ben. I was very pleased with Jalen of what they were doing. Blake and Garrett, I think, as middle infielders that played the middle for us last year, a lot more confidence, as far as playing the middle is concerned. Jared Toller, we were kind of baby bred wolf last year. Yeah, is he growing up? Well, a full year playing games, that's our expectations. And then some of the guys on the pitching staff that Allen's dealt with, like a Tyler Jeans, now is a Sunday starter, and we saw him a lot in the midweek. And Carter moving up a little bit in the rotation. Yeah, there's some guys that have improved and gotten better and confidence, and so for sure, yes, we're pleased with what they're doing.
And opening weekend for A-State wasn't the best weekend. We dropped all 3 to Samford. But the beauty of baseball, it's not a race, it's a marathon. You can get beat one game 24-0, then come back and win 5-0. It's just baseball. As you can see, game 1, lost a close one 8-9, game 2, 11-4, and then got shut out 11-0 on Sunday, which, beginning of the years, you have plenty of time to fix it.
Right, Cooper. So you mentioned how in the third game we got beat 11-0. And, in that game we were limited to 5 hits. And, it's just one of those things that is still early on in the baseball season. A lot of teams are still getting over that hump of, warm-ups and everything like that. But, it's not a time to feel bad about the baseball season because, I'm sure a lot of the fans have seen it before. A-State starts out slow, and they're able to pick up some steam heading into a lot of conference play, even may make a run to the conference championship when that comes time. But, Cooper, the baseball season is just beginning. We still got a lot of time left. It's no need to kind of feel – worried or panicky because it's not like we're a Vanderbilt or a Mississippi State where we, dominate every single year. So regardless of that, there was 5 left-hand pitchers on the team. It's never been done before. And, the next game for the Red Wolves, they finished the road stint at Ole Miss in Oxford. And, Ole Miss in their last series, they beat Charleston 3-0 in their opening 3-game seasons. None of those games were close at all. So, it's really time for A-State to maybe upset the Rebels over that Ole Miss or Land Sharks, whatever they're going by nowadays. But, Cooper, is it maybe far-fetched to say that possibly we may have an upset on our hands for the A-State Red Wolves in baseball?
Well, it's definitely possible because usually the midday series, that's the time where you get, you start a pitcher, like Ole Miss, they may start a pitcher, they're trying to fill out, he may be a freshman. So you're going to see Ole Miss, they know A-State's a smaller school, they should definitely beat us. But that's when you can sneak in the upset. You see that every midday series throughout college baseball because bigger schools, when playing smaller schools, they want to really kind of get their players into swing of things. So I could definitely see an upset happen.
Right, Cooper. You said it best yourself. When they play smaller schools like an Ole Miss playing an A-State, they want to kind of give maybe their star players a rest, even though it's still early on the season. You don't want to risk that injury. Pitchers with Tommy John and stuff like that to really end their season before it really begins. But, it just goes to the saying of we got a lot of guys on this team. It's not like we're a young team. We're still older, amongst the Sun Belt ranks. So, it doesn't matter, it does matter that we started out 0-3. Sure, that may come back to hurt us later. But right now, we just need to worry about the one game to Ole Miss and then go to the next series against Arkansas Pine Bluff. But, Cooper, speaking of baseball, we had a lot of good things come out of the Grand Slam banquet. It was announced that we were going to have a lot of, expansions to the stadium and facilities. And, that was another thing that Coach Raffo was able to tell us on the Zoom call. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what he said about that on the rest of the Zoom call.
Game changer in so many ways. It just changes the whole dynamic of Arkansas State baseball. We fought so many battles weather-wise here throughout the years, and just recently we had a week where we weren't on the field because of the weather, and there were some local schools that had turf, and they're on the field practicing. So yes, that is a huge deal, and to get all our games in at home, all our home games, you do not want to miss your home games. You want your fans to come support the team. You want them to be able to be in the stands, and that's huge. And then you just let alone the factor of you can also provide opportunities for the community to come in, and you have games to play on the field where weather's not an issue. And then just really the time of prep time before and after a field is big. So when you talk of that with turf, that's one component. The second, of course, is there's so many factors to provide basically a fan-friendly atmosphere, and for people to be able to enjoy a ball game and so they have great sight lines to watch a game, and kind of an update from basically 30 years ago of when the stadium got first put in. So a lot of renovations for the student athletes. So it's just a game changer all around. And then when you add the factor too that you're going into a league that's getting updated again, you have a former national champion in Coastal Carolina. You got a perennial regional participants in Louisiana and South Alabama, and now you throw in a Southern Miss. It's a no-brainer. And just a lot of credit goes to Kelly Dampus and Tom Bowen for wanting to put this in the forefront, and making sure that we can improve, with a lot of things that need to be done to keep us in the opportunity to win the Sun Belt.
We want to thank Coach Raffo for taking the time to really talk about the baseball season and the expansion coming to the facilities in the baseball side of things. But Cooper, before we get into a lot of things, speaking of expansion, we got a lot of stuff coming up and talking about the rest of the A-State sports. But stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. And if you couldn't think the Sun Belt could not get any more fun, well, it's about to get a lot more fun. The Fun Belt is upgrading. We're getting 3 teams from the Conference USA, Old Dominion, Marshall, and Southern Miss. And this will change schedules up big time. Football, baseball, basketball, you got it all.
Yeah, Cooper, you said it pretty much good yourself, but you can't forget to mention the reason why you see on your screen Sun Belt Conference versus the Conference USA is because James Madison decides to come over from the FCS, and then the 3 Conference USA teams decide to come early as well. However, the Conference USA doesn't like that very much because they're whiners, and they want to throw a tweet out saying that the Conference USA intends to conduct the 2022-2023 athletic year with the full 14 institutional memberships intact. The Conference USA Board of Directors will exhaust all necessary legal actions to ensure all members meet their contractual obligations as defined by and agreed to in the Conference USA bylaws. However, and I mean however, Conference USA, if you're watching this in your fancy suits and your fancy crackers and G's, You can't do that legally. You can't. Show me the proof in the pudding. You cannot say that these teams are contractually obligated to be in your crappy conference because they want to leave and join the Fun Belt. It's fun for a reason. You got to let them go. So for that reason, you got to think, what does the Sun Belt Conference do to say, okay, no, screw you. This is our conference. We're going to do what we want. So, really, Cooper, it boils down to, okay, sign the waivers, get in the boxing ring, put on the gloves, become Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, whatever boxer you like watching. Get in the ring, sign the waiver, and box it out. Because at this point, you're holding back the Sun Belt Conference from releasing their football schedule, even though the Conference USA somehow has already released theirs. So it boils down to this. The Conference USA is being a bunch of whiners because they're not getting their way. And the Sun Belt is just saying, like, what did I do? So it just boils down to, Cooper, this is these teams are coming, and they're not going to back down. James Madison started the argument, and now the three teams, Old Dominion, Marshall, and Southern Miss, are saying, okay, what about us? We don't want to be the last ones in and screw up our schedules and screw up our athletic programs. So really what's going to happen is that they're going to end up coming over, and they're just probably not going to be able to play for a Sun Belt Conference championship to, make the Conference USA calm down just a little bit. And then, 2-3 years, and, by the time we graduate from here or whatever, they're going to be contending for the Sun Belt Conference championship. But, you got to look at it this way. The relocation itself in the Sun Belt is absolutely crazy. You got UTA and Little Rock leaving. UTA is going to the WAC. University of Little Rock's going to the Ohio Valley Conference. And you see how they're going to have it split. You'll have Texas State, the Raging Cajuns, ULM, Southern Miss, South Alabama, Troy, and Arkansas State in one division. And then on the other side of things, you'll have, your App State, your Coastal Carolina, two big dogs in the Sun Belt Conference. And not to mention, you'll have James Madison. James Madison, for those of you that do not know, in the FCS, they were probably, not the Alabama of the FCS, but one of the big dogs in the FCS to where they're able to, kind of run things, run their show how they want to do. They've won a couple national championships over there, but now they're really going to come over here and prove if they really can hang with the big boys of the FBS, and, Sun Belt's the first way to go, Of course, I don't think they're going to do much because they're FCS and they're just going to get too carried away like UCA did when they came here and lost to, the Red Wolves.
Well, my thing about it is if James Madison, they have nothing to lose. They really don't. It'll help their recruiting wise, and that's pretty much what it boils down to. They realize, all right, if we can move to the Sun Belt and then say, if we can knock off a couple teams here and there, go undefeated, we can get in the top 4 and make the college football playoffs. It's all about recruiting when it boils down to the end of it. And you're talking about the Alabama's FCS. Really, I'm waiting for North Dakota State to finally quit screwing around and come join the big dogs. But, Conference USA, they just got their panties in the wad that those three teams don't like the conference, and they just want to join some fun over here in the Sun Belt and actually compete with some good football teams.
Yeah, because teams have left the conference before and they've gone on to bigger, better things. But regardless of that, Cooper, before we get carried away, we end up getting in trouble for saying the wrong thing. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to round up the rest of the sports that happen at A-State Athletics. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to do our A-State Sports Weekend recap. And Cooper, we had an exciting weekend for the rest of the athletics here at Arkansas State. So now we're going to start out with women's bowling. 18-team invitational, 12 of the top 25 teams competing at the Midwinter Invitational at Hijinks. Coach Kostick was able to get his 1,000th career win, and he's able to become the 6th coach in NCAA bowling history to reach that 1,000th career win. And, that's just interesting for him. He's able to do his thing, do his brand of bowling, get the thing done, get the job done, and become the great coach that he is. It's going to be hard to replace him once he decides to leave Arkansas State. But, it's just one of those things that, it happens. People leave, people play, people coach good, people coach phenomenally. But, it's just one of those things. And also, Arkansas State was one of Arkansas State's losses came to the winner Nebraska, who edged Wisconsin Whitewater 4-3 in the champ match. And then Arkansas State will be on the road to Nebraska next week for the Big Red Invite at Holiday Bowl in Lincoln, Nebraska. And Cooper, that's just another exciting thing. And, looking at women's tennis now, Arkansas State lost 4-1 to Arkansas at the U of A Bingsley Tennis Center. Double point decided after Thea Rice and Zukic lost 6-1, and Yasmin Humper and Sophia 6-0. Emily Sertwitz and Rebecca Broadley tied 4-4 at time. Cooper, that's just another one of those interesting things about tennis. It's back and forth all the way around. Even if you get shut out like that, you may be able to bounce back the next match. A 3-road game next weekend next 3-road game visit next weekend, Alcorn State Friday before Ruston, Louisiana for Grambling, and Louisiana Tech Saturday and Sunday. Rice was Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week after games against Mississippi State 4-3. Rice won singles 4-4, 6-4, 6-4, and double games 6-0. Cooper, just another one of those exciting things.
It really is. And, we now go to men's golf, and their spring kickoff was canceled due to winter weather that was supposed to take place February 7th. They do have a reschedule. Spring portion will be February 28th through the March 2nd at Reflection Bay Golf Club. And it's going to be hosted by good old Coastal Carolina. Bring that bucket out for us. Fried chicken all around.
Are you hungry?
And then now we head into women's golf. They finished 10th at the FAU Paradise Invitational. They finished +8, which was the second lowest total in program history. You love to see this early on to start off golf. Second lowest, that's tremendous. And women's golf, they tied for 7th, was 4th top 10 finishes in 6 tourneys this season. And so now we're going to go over to softball. They had 2 games this weekend against Frontier Community College. The first game, they won 4-0, but next game they lost 9-12 in a really shootout game right there.
Yeah, Cooper, last but not least, we got the track and field Sun Belt Conference Tournament taking place as, right now pretty much. And, 2 A-State athletes were named in the final Sun Belt Conference weekly honors. Sophia Leathers, Sun Belt Conference Women's Track Athlete of the Week, broke the school's indoor 5,000-meter record at the Music City Challenge in Nashville. And, breaking ASU great Christina Hubbard from 2014. She ranks first in conference by nearly 14 seconds. Second time this season, Carter Shell, Men's Field Athlete of the Week, top collegian in long jump at the challenge. It's just one of those things that he was second overall with 7.72 meters, ranked 17th in the NCAA, and 5th best this week, leads conference by 18 centimeters. The indoor championship, like we were saying, it's just one of those interesting things that the men face: Little Rock, Louisiana South, Alabama, Texas State, University of Louisiana Monroe, and Texas Arlington. And the women, they face Appalachian State Coastal. Bring that bucket of chicken out because we cooking up that fried chicken turquoise style. And, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Little Rock, Louisiana South Isle, Troy, Texas Southern, and University of Louisiana Monroe and Texas Arlington. And it's just one of those things that, so interesting to see that the track and field, they're able to repeat as conference champs. They won it the past couple years in a row, I do believe. And, like I was saying, A-State has won 11 of the 14 championships dating back to the 2019 outdoor. No lower finishes than third in any of them. Back in 2019, the indoor champs Red Wolves finished first or second in 14 of the 16 meets, Cooper. That's one of those things that track and field, shout out Madison Collier. She's a personal friend of mine. She's one of the throwers on that women's team. And it's just one of those things that, you love seeing these athletic programs succeed. You love seeing Arkansas State succeed on here at Red Wolf Roundtable, whether it's track and field, women's tennis, football, whatever. But, regardless of that, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for this week's episode of Red Wolf Roundtable. We hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys next time.